Hi, y'all. This is Kristen Chenoweth.
Hi, I'm Gloria Stefan.
This is Sarah Bareilles.
Hi, I'm Patty Lapone.
This is Lin-Manuel Miranda. You're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Theater Podcast, intimate personal conversations with theater's biggest names. I'm your host, Alan Seals, and this is part of the Broadway Podcast Network. This episode is with Natalie Weiss, who is known on YouTube for her very, very popular series, Breaking Down the Riffs, where she takes song riffs and literally just breaks them down and teaches them. And she has these episodes where she teaches her students how to riff like your most famous pop stars. She wanted to be a pop star when she was a kid, and that was her goal. She went into high school and into her career saying, I want to be a pop star. And then as we get into in the episode, she was saying she is really, really glad she did not become a pop star for several reasons that she talks about later in the episode. But she's enjoying her theater career, her Broadway career, her off-Broadway career, and something that she gets the most joy out of that she didn't realize she would is teaching and inspiring young minds and young students and really getting to know the next generation and helping them succeed. So that's where she found her calling. That's what she enjoys doing. And she's just an incredible person. Currently the construction worker in Emojiland as this episode drops. So you need to go see that before the run is over. It's an amazing show. As always, before we get into things, I encourage you to visit me online at ttp.fm. You can show your support, help me continue the transcriptions. At one of the most inexpensive patron levels, you can get to submit your questions ahead of time and help be part of the conversation. You can get more information at ttp.fm/Patreon, Patreon. Find me online, theater_podcast on Instagram and Twitter. Please leave a review. I love reading those. And now, without further ado, please enjoy this episode with Natalie Weiss.
Here you go. 1, 2, 3.
My guest today gained an international following from her performance videos and popular YouTube web series, Breaking Down the Riffs, which have collectively reached over 4 million views. Asterisk, I stole that from your bio. She's an actress, singer, private vocal coach, masterclass teacher, and is one of the most sought-after voices among new musical theater writers. Still young, but with a career that people twice her age might never achieve. I don't even know where to begin with this interview.
That's
but
crazy.
Here goes Natalie Weiss.
Hello.
Welcome to the Theater
Wow,
Podcast.
that's crazy.
Well, you do everything. Like, there are so many people who are in their mid-30s, if I'm allowed to say that on air, who have gotten to this point and they're like, all they've ever done is just act or just been dancing or just like they're a great tap dancer, but they don't coach or they don't teach or whatever it is. And you've made this kind of niche for yourself, if niche is the right word, doing everything.
I'm very anxious right now. It's very weird. Thank you. No, it just makes me like excited, but also like, because it was like kind of all an accident.
What do you mean? Like, what did you originally start out to do? Because you went to Penn State for college.
I started.
Right? Yeah.
I sought after being a pop star at age 5. No, I really wanted to.
After you won Star Search.
No, I really wanted to be a pop singer growing up, and I was like, I want to be famous. Growing up, when you grow up in the 90s, you don't try to be a YouTube star. That's like not a thing because YouTube wasn't a thing. So I decided like you can't go to school for pop stardom. So I was like, musical theater will do. I was kind of late to the musical theater game, did the shows in high school. And then I went to Penn State for musical theater. And in college, I was kind of the go-to. I also started as a classically trained piano player. So that was like earlier than I sang. So in college, I was the go-to, hey, Natalie, play this song for me. Give me repertoire, So I was kind of coaching for free in college. And then my senior year of college, I was singing a Dreamgirl song at the head of the program's house. And it's obviously not type appropriate, but I did like kind of an opera joke and then I belted at the end. And the Dreamgirls movie was coming out a week later. But again, it wasn't like, and now I will sing a Dreamgirl song to get recognized. Like it literally just was like, this is fun. I enjoy this. And then a freshman videotaped it and filmed it and then put it on this thing called youtube.com in 2006. And it was just the right time, the right place. And I had Facebook friend requests because of the Dreamgirls movie. So that's what started it, again, by accident. I didn't even have a channel. And then my showcase video was on the internet, but not even my channel. I didn't even have a channel. And then sort of around the time that the University of Michigan kids were also putting up videos, Andrew Keenan Bolger, who I haven't seen in a while, but he put my video on his channel. And then I was like, I'll start a YouTube channel. But the following, in quotes, had been started. And then, yeah. And then I auditioned like everyone else and did some shows. And then was coaching because I didn't have to get a waitressing job because I had this following. So it's nice to be able to have some clients. And then I was on tour with Les Mis as a swing. So I was a little bit creatively unfulfilled, understudying all the whores, for lack of a better word. I mean, I didn't go to school to like play whore number 4, but so I was watching a lot of Netflix, but I was also teaching. And I had this idea for a riff video that was going to be on my photo booth. And then my friend was like, I have a good camera, I'll film you. Was not going to do 35 episodes, thinking of the right name for it. I didn't even know it was a series. And then I was like, okay, it's a series now. And then left the tour. And then again, this private coaching video thing that I started 2 years ago was another accident. So sort of like accidents that I rode the wave of, but it was never calculated. I just had the following after that first video to help. But the first coaching video was me being like, how amazing is this kid? I wasn't even coaching him. And I was like, oh, people like it.
And you're like sitting on the floor of hotel rooms filming these.
That was the Breaking Down the Riffs.
Right.
Definitely in between shows, hotel room. Janky, like not well produced. And then I learned how to edit, and then that's part of my life now. But yeah.
I mean, for even Breaking Down the Riffs, I was watching one. You had Ben Platt back in 2015 before Dear Evan Hansen.
Before Dear Evan Hansen.
Right.
So Ben Platt was in the movie Pitch Perfect. And I was like, oh, the guy from Pitch Perfect. And he was like, oh my God, he was like, I guess a fan of mine, but we had met when I was on Les Mis and he was in Book of Mormon. We had like a mixer on tour, like Book of Mormon, Sister Act, and Les Mis. And I was like, what's up?
Sounds like
and
what they do with boys schools and girls schools to make a prom together.
Like a little social, yeah. So I met him through his friend who was on the show with him. And he wasn't even in Dear Evan Hansen yet.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that was right before, it's 2016, I think, was Dear Evan Hansen.
That video was, I think, 2014 that we filmed.
Right. So that was long before. But before we get into American Idol and off-pitch videos and all sorts of other things that are so much fun, take me back to your childhood, though. Like, where did you actually grow up? Because I know you said...
I grew up in New Jersey. I was born in Brooklyn.
Okay.
But I grew up in New Jersey. I played a lot of sports, so I sort of didn't train my voice until maybe in the middle of high school, but not very formal training until college.
Really?
I always could imitate... Not always. Like, I was pretty bad at like 8. And then at 11, I was like, what? I can riff and have vibrato? That's weird. But I didn't know what to do with it. So, like, you can see that the trajectory of my riffing abilities was always very like, it was very like chipmunky and like not clean, but like I knew what I wanted to do because I had a musicality. But I sort of developed my sound over time.
At that age, when I was 6, 7, 8, was I even that young? Maybe I was a little bit older. Like the Disney Mickey Mouse Club, and Christina Aguilera and Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears and those people were, they're my age. And those were the people that I always wanted to emulate. But I tried to like, oh, I can be that kid. I want to be famous, right? Was that the same? Was it about the same time frame for you?
Different time frame.
You had
I had like
years.
Mariah and Whitney were my people, and Janet Jackson, Billy Joel. But Mariah and Whitney were the OG people I imitated.
And do you have like an original song that you can go? That you can go back to? No. That's
an original song that like started it all.
Yeah.
So it's definitely Hero. Like 93 was like the time that I started finding my voice, and Weak by SWV. So like my mom would be like, please stop singing the same song over and over.
Right now my 5-year-old will not stop
singing Weak by SWV.
Do Re Mi from Sound of Music.
Oh my God, that was literally like, I was
Yeah, everything. He'll be coloring and
your actual 5-year-old now. I thought you meant, okay.
Oh, not 5-year-old me. No. My literal 5-year-old.
Is singing Do Re Mi from Sound of Music.
Yes. No,
not SWV.
No, not 5-year-old Alan. 5-year-old Alan was watching West Side Story on VHS.
There you go.
So, yes, it was okay. I was doing all right for myself. Okay, so then pop song, high school, and you went to, you were in high school in New Jersey.
Yeah, I went to half a day performing arts school.
Oh, so performing arts high school.
Yeah, it was half a day. So I commuted for half the day, but I had to do the musicals at my own high school because at that time, the program now, which is in Howell High School, you have to transfer full time.
Mm-hmm.
And the musicals there were amazing. And the theater department at my school was not as renowned as this one. So I didn't really get parts until junior, senior year, but I did win the Paper Mill Rising Star Award for Best Actress for Audrey and Little Shop. My claim to fame.
Okay, so then college, Penn State, you're going performing and whatnot. And then, so American Idol, you were on season 4.
So yeah, I left sophomore year for a week to pursue my dream of being a pop star. Still at that point, which I have no interest anymore. Dreams change.
Yes.
Yeah, I always, oh my God, I watched every single episode. I had VHSs sent to me at sleepaway camp of season 1. So I was going to be an American Idol no matter what. Auditioned once before season 2, didn't get through. Season 4, got through to Hollywood. I just was like a different singer then. I just was like, fine.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then I got put with a group with stage parents and cried at 4 a.m. and then got sent home the next day and thought my life was over.
Was it, so you just made, so your audition was...
my audition was never shown. My judge's audition wasn't shown.
Right.
Then the first round in Hollywood, which I nailed, wasn't shown. Then the group round, which I didn't bomb. I just didn't do what I planned. And I sounded fine, but I didn't get through and the 2 girls did. And if you had seen who had gotten through, nobody knew the words to anything. I was like, I'll skate through. All these people are getting through. And it was like, it didn't go your way. And I was like, I wanted to crawl into a hole. But like, I don't want to do that anymore.
What do you think that was though?
I have no idea.
Really?
I mean, honestly, my mom's like, it's because you're Jewish. I'm not joking.
Really?
I'd like to think it's not.
I
don't know.
This is a pretty superficial business.
They said something like, man, I just like, can I have feedback? And they're like, just consistency is key. And I'm like, I'm the most consistent. Like I was so mad, but it's just a TV show. I didn't have enough story. I don't know. I didn't have any story.
That's interesting. I've talked to Lauren a lot. Do you know Lauren from?
Yeah.
She was in Once on This Island, and now she's a regular on, I think, The Young and the Restless out in LA. And she was on Idol, I want to say 15, 14, something. I'm confusing. So you think you can dances with American Idols? I don't know. Yeah. So she was saying that and she was big posting on social media about like the wig she wears now. And she started. We were talking on the podcast. She started because the stress of being on Idol caused her to lose her hair.
Mm.
And they have they keep you sequestered, so you're not supposed to deal with media.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a therapist on site that she's like, obviously didn't work for me. I lost my hair.
Oh my God.
So did you feel any of that? I guess, is that throughout the whole process, or what was it like?
I just remember being like, I'll never be in the dramatic group round. I was put with a dramatic group. Like there was nothing I could do that would ever be better. That it was the group. I always think I'm so happy to where everything has led me. And I always think if I had picked another song and got put with person X of my friend who I met there instead of these 2 girls, I might have had a totally different life. And so now, imagine if I got with a different group and I was on Idol. That wouldn't have led me to this. It's just so crazy to think.
Right. Well, the pop stardom of life. I mean, what you said you don't want to do that anymore. Like, what do you want to really do?
I want to whenever I feel any ounce of notoriety of I feel like I've inspired young singers, which I never sought out to do. And I was like, whoa, this is happening. This is so weird that I can't imagine what Ariana Grande feels. Like
right.
on the level that I feel it is like, oh, I got recognized in Times Square last night. Lovely. I'm not going to get recognized at a Mets game, but imagine never having I
know. I saw that tweet that you sent out. I think it was last night. They're like, I didn't have the courage to come up and talk to you.
Oh, that was a second person. But
really?
I'd never been actually there's your bag. I didn't want to say hi. I'm like, next time say hi. But I can't imagine that.
Yeah.
It's like creating things. I like to build a team of people that I just want to like have run a school that I hire all my friends to teach at.
Is that, you want to teach now? Is that like sort of the thing?
Yeah, but it depends. Like there's certain things I love. It's the same with performing. Like there's certain jobs you love, there's certain jobs you don't, and there's certain people I could teach for hours, and there's certain people that are not a right fit that I'm like send to other people. But I love being around. Like I'm doing this vocal supervising job coming up in June, and I feel like I love that. I love the tweaking of it. I do like building stuff, but I like being able to like make it this much better after it's been worked on. Come in and be like,
you're the polisher.
I love polishing.
Yeah, you come in and you polish. Are you still auditioning for a lot of Broadway? And is musical theater on Broadway kind of like still a pie in the sky sort of thing?
No, actually. No, it would have to be like, I said this because I was like, oh my God, Broadway. You know, to me, it was never like, okay, Broadway, I think it was always to be a pop star. It was never like, I want to be on Broadway. But yes, of course, you go to musical theater school, you want to be on Broadway, right? I did a Broadway show 10 years ago and it was great. And then I was like, Broadway. You know, a lot of people will say that when they come on. They're like, a lot of people that do a show a year, like 10 Broadway shows. They're like, and now what? And now I'm going to do a TV show. Now I'm going to, you know. I think that if the material was right and I love doing it, it would be great. But I have built this business that I feel much more passionate about than doing it. I feel like my goal of like being on Broadway is to say I'm on Broadway now. Because there is like a lack of validation. Like when I did the Les Mis tour and all my friends got Les Mis on Broadway, there was like but then they would do the show every day and they're like, still here. And I was like, oh, I've been to 10 other countries teaching and doing concerts. Wow, okay, it's okay. I didn't get the Broadway show. But when I said hi at the stage door and hung out and I would get recognized, I would feel like, hey, can we go across the street? I feel really weird. I'm not in the show. Like I would feel bad about myself. I'm not actually on Broadway. Who am I? Like, and they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, well, there is a lack of feeling good about yourself when you're not on Broadway. But that's like a stigma.
Yeah.
You know? So I think the people that know what I've created, they're like, you've done great things. But people that don't know, like, hey, you've been on Broadway, you know, people are like, you doing a Broadway show? Well, you're an actor. You're not doing anything. What are you doing then? And then you feel like you have to explain yourself, not like, I work at a dentist's office 9 to 5.
Right.
It's very weird.
Well, your survival job it's not a job because you enjoy it, for one, right? But then the term survival job, I think it's Michael Kushner calls it a for now job. But yours, you're doing what you want to do, and it seems like Broadway is the side.
It's really interesting, actually, because I'm doing Emojiland off Broadway.
Right.
Which came about in a very random way. I was in LA. I got an email about it. I had not auditioned for it. Truth be told, I had been auditioning for certain things, and it came across my desk. That's really weird. And I thought, oh my God. Okay. I don't have anything coming up, but I do have a lot of inquiries about coaching. So what do I do? And it's been rewarding in certain ways and been a struggle other ways. But I'm editing videos on my Act 2 break. Like I'm never just relaxing. And so it's interesting and I'm never going to be bored. I have a million projects, but even just like videos on my external hard drive. Okay, I'm at the theater. I did the show. I have my big songs in Act 1. And then I'm like, gotta edit this, you know? So it keeps me busy. But I know a lot of people that are now like, my friend was in Beautiful for 6 years and he was writing. He was like, Broadway's my side job. It's very weird. But it is my first job, which is why I can't just blow out my voice. I do have to take care of my voice, which is why my coachings have been limited during the run.
Oh. So you do.
So I've been able to take on coachings, but I could do 10 a day, but I can't. Like I did, 2 hours before this and I'm like, So I can't just like blow it before my job, even though my other job pays more.
Yeah. You mean the Broadway pays more or the coaching? Coaching pays, yeah. Well, I would think too, with the number of subscribers you got.
Off Broadway.
Yeah, yes. So. Off Broadway, yes. That the monetization of YouTube is also.
That's a new thing because it hasn't been. I hired a YouTube manager, so I'm looking into retroactive monetization because I barely make any money off of YouTube.
How is that possible? You just go and check a box, right? You're like,
but I don't have enough time to go through that. So I finally hired somebody to do that for me. And so we're working on backlogging and like retroactively looking at monetization and sponsorship so that there is more passive income.
That's interesting. Can you go back and replace? You can't replace video. Like if you have a video with,
it's been up for years. They're looking at like fighting copyright claims, or after that's all set, making sure my monetization settings are on for all of them, because I don't really have a strategy. That's the thing. I've never been like, and now I will post. It's just like, I have a video, I'll post it. And it's just like, I had the audience. People say like, how do you build an audience? I'm like, I don't have a fucking clue. I don't.
You do what you love to do.
That's the thing. I put out what I know and think is funny / good / bad funny. And I think I have judgment about what people will like now, because I think I have good taste about what's funny. And a lot of it is I've run a lot of my material by my friends. And they're like, this is good. This isn't working. This is good. And that's been helpful.
Well, you've got a very large and talented pool of friends as well.
I do. I have a great community of peeps.
What was it? Your live show. I love the Phantom of the Chandelier.
Oh, I love that one.
Video, because
that was created by 3 of my friends in my living room. And when it actually came to be, it was just so rewarding. So stuff like that excites me.
Well, that's what Shoshana Bean came out and surprised the audience, right? And do you reach out to her? You're like, I got this idea, or how?
Yeah, so I basically, like, we met at a concert, it's 2020, 12 years ago. But I had been a fan of hers since high school, probably. And so we were like acquaintances, but I was always like, I'll just tweet her. But she was like, hey, girl. And I'm like, So she was free us having these guests. And I was like, I have to do something epic. What is it? And I'm never going to just do Take Me or Leave Me. It has to be like, it's not In His Eyes. Like, it has to be an epic duet. And I was like, okay, how do we use her talents? Okay, she has these whistle tones. It's funny. Oh, this song sounds like this. What's the big reveal? And then it just like a spitballing session. And then it just was me audio memoing her. This is the idea. Learn it. And like, it's not that it wasn't collaborative, but it was, this is the idea. I think it's going to be epic. And she was like, I got it. I'll learn it. And then.
That was great.
Yep. Barely any rehearsal. Here's the track. Here's what you're doing.
Okay. So you've got, of course, Idol. You've got Breaking Down the Riffs, which we've talked about. And do you have perfect pitch, by the way?
No, I have very strong relative pitch.
Okay. So it's like perfect pitch twice removed.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. What I'm going to get, okay, let's pause here. We'll talk about the riffs. How long does it take you to actually dissect these riffs? Like,
okay, it depends.
What's the process?
So today I taught a riff class for kids in Argentina, and their homework assignment was to bring in riffs that they're like, I could never do this. And then I'm like, and then I either tell them, you're right, that needs 5 listens, or that's easy, what are you talking about, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, they brought in a couple. I said, I can hear right away if it's a 1-time listen or like a 50-time auto, AnyTune, the app that I use to slow it down.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain things that I'm like, girl, how do you not hear those 17 notes? And there's sometimes that I'm like, my brain can't compute these 70 notes. There's no way. It just depends on the amount and the directions of notes. And then I'll sort of, this is how I teach people. So I'll have them draw horizontal lines of where they're going. So if it's like, do, 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 they'll draw 3 horizontal lines next to each other. And then if it goes back up, they'll put the horizontal line back up to the same line of the next note. And then it would be like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2. That would go back to the same pitch.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like more complicated stuff like music theory, intervals and stuff that I incorporate. And it's just made up. Sort of start to hear it in sections. And
so you were teaching in Argentina?
Yeah, here.
Teaching here in Argentina.
They're from Argentina, and they were here this week and last week. So we did like an intro to riffing class.
I thought you were like...
this morning I flew in for the podcast.
I was like, wow, thanks. You look well rested.
Yeah, nope.
Or
just at 44th Street.
I was just thinking about like Skype or video calls, which would also be cool.
Yeah, that's possible.
And okay, so the riffs... then I love the off-pitch videos.
Thank you.
I was watching one at first, and I didn't realize that it was a parody.
How?
Well,
because I'm really serious.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm never laughing. That's part of the comedy.
Oh no, you take it completely seriously, which is awesome. But I was like,
what's wrong with her today?
No, well, I was tired because I came in from Mexico last night.
Oh.
And And I was like, wait.
Like the tone is kind of good and the riffs are kind of clean.
Yeah, it doesn't sound sloppy, but something's not right.
Something's not right.
And I looked at the comments and I was like, oh, wait, half the people don't get it, but I know what this is.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And by love it, I mean help. Please help. Like most of it is like, this is my favorite thing you do. Ha, ha, ha. Is everything all right? Or something like that. Or your voice doesn't, oh God, they're so funny. And like, they just don't get it. It's but that's the point. It needs to be for a certain audience. I'm not going to explain it to you. Right. Wait, my favorite is, how does this help with technique? It doesn't. Why do you do this? It's fun. I don't know. Like, there's no like scientific answer. Just because I've been doing it since 8th grade.
Like off-pitch videos?
Yes. No videos. Just, I remember singing in Pippin, we sang Morning Glow by Your Light. Like, before Miranda sings. And the thing is, I also hate when they're like, oh my God, Miranda sings. I'm like, no. Miranda sings is like purposely horrible. This has good tone and riffs, but is sort of flat and sharp. It's a different brand of off-key.
It takes so much talent to do what you do, though.
Thanks.
Like to be exactly off on every single note, or just, exactly slightly off.
I've just been doing it for so long, but I never filmed it until, I don't remember when the first one was.
Yeah. So we talked about coaching, and you do master classes as well.
Mm-hmm.
Goodness, like, was this another accident you fell into, or what are the master classes about?
Let's see. When did I do my first one? My first one was like 10 years ago right before I left for tour. Yeah, I think like a college reached out. They're like, could you do a class? Okay. I always took them in college with the famous people. And I was like, whoa. So, I didn't really have my riff structure then, but it was like people got up and sing and I could give them feedback and stuff like that. And then I just was teaching more, and then people heard that I did them. So.
What do you teach? It's all vocal technique?
No,
or what?
It's not all. Like, depending. I do love doing the group riffing portion. I have this like intro to music theory that I love doing. That way people that are like, I'm really bad, that they don't have to stand up and they could just like learn. Mm-hmm. And so I like to do that for like 45 to an hour. And then I like to get people up and give them feedback. And it's a mixture of, connecting to the song lyric or vocal technique, depending on what they need help on.
Okay. So it's more of it's a full picture thing.
Yeah.
And you've also got 6 albums, right, of your own?
Oh God, no.
Is it 6?
6?
When I did a Google Music search,
I have
6
my own
albums
EP, 1.
Okay.
Then I have a duet EP with Sally Wilford, which is called One Voice. And then I have a bunch of singles on Spotify and Apple Music from other composers. / 2 covers, probably.
Okay.
3 covers. But I have a music video coming out very soon. My first storyboarded music video.
Is it an original song?
No, it's Heart of Stone from 6, the musical, and I'm going to release it on 6 opening.
Nice. So that's what, next
March 13th.
Yeah, March 13th. Wow.
Yeah, I'm very,
that's coming up
very
soon.
excited about it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's very, very cool.
But I had my best friend, who again is just my best friend, and he's good at everything. So he fully conceived and directed it, and I said, do whatever. And I hired a videographer and spent so much money on the audio production. But you know what? It's a passion project. Don't we love those?
Monetize that YouTube.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Okay. So then the album, your EP, that's all
covers and an original Jason Robert Brown song that he wrote.
Right. Yeah.
Basically for me, sort of 10, 11 years ago.
Well, yeah. So I read, and I included in the bio that like one of the most sought after voices in new musical theater writers. Like, is that a whole subgenre of like performing, of just people to perform on concept albums?
Yeah. So that started happening around YouTube. So like graduated college, Scott Allen emailed me, Facebooked me, and said, I need a sub for my concert. We had been on Facebook, like talking a little bit to sub out for Eden Espinosa like 12 years ago. And he's like, she looks like she can do a bunch, from looking at 5 of her videos, because I had like 5 at the time on YouTube. And so I did this like big concert where I had to learn a song in a day, and then word of mouth, and then all the new composers. That's another thing that's so crazy. All the new composers were starting out then. Like the Jonathan Reed Gelt, the Joey Contreras, Drew Gasparini, like all of Kuman and Diamond, Kerrigan Loudermilk, they were all happening that time, the same exact time. So it was completely accidental that all those like albums that I'm on were just happening at the same time. So, doing demos now is now more of a, this is my fee. I don't have to, it was say yes to everything for free 12 years ago. Because I was new.
And then, and the album.
And there are certain things that you say exposure 100% free. I don't care what they're paying. And then there's certain things that are like, what's your budget? It just depends.
Right. So that was, I didn't realize that there was that much time, like it was that long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that was also around Everyday Rapture.
Yeah, it was like
2010.
2010 was a little bit after the New Composer stuff.
So Everyday Rapture was your Broadway debut, which was kind of accidental.
No, I auditioned for that.
No, not you being in it, but the show being on Broadway.
Yeah, that happened last minute because it was like they opened a slot from off Broadway. And I was like, I think I was quitting the business for the 80th time, like as everyone will say. And I was like, I have no confidence. And then I got into a musical theater class. I'm like, let me just like get my confidence back. Because my agent had dropped me at the time. And I was like, I'm worthless. Half kidding. And then I auditioned and I was a disaster that day. It was one of those like audition stories like, when you're not trying, you book a job. And I like cracked at 10 in the morning. I forgot my book, like everything. I was back and forth in a cab. And they were like, great, can you come back at 2? And then I could dance well for going to the singer audition. And they needed somebody who could learn choreography really fast because it was like covering the 2 girls. And then I got cast the next day. It was like so fast. And I was like, yay, Broadway.
And I want to actually touch on you're like half kidding, I'm worthless. Like, do you have that voice in your head?
Oh yeah, all the
that's
time.
Just like, because I think you and I are very similar in there's a little bit of everything going on because you're just hoping you're afraid of failing, so you try to do as much as you can. Is that true?
It's a little bit true.
That's how I am. I'm like I just want to do a lot because if 3 things fail, then I've got 10 others.
It's not really like that. It's like I would much like there was a part. I mean, every other year, but the past year and a half has been mostly great. A year and a half ago to 2 years ago, I was like, I don't know my purpose. I don't have anything on the calendar. That was a huge thing. It was before the coaching business blew up that I like told my parents, I was like, I know that I say this a lot, like, what's next? They're like, you'll figure it out. I'm like, thanks, Mom, And I'm like, I think I'm going into casting because I really love that side of it too. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then when the coaching business took off, I was like, yeah, something. But there was a lot. It wasn't like, let me do a million things. It was, I just much rather be doing a million things than bored. Because if I'm bored, I start spiraling of I have nothing to do. So I was like, even if I had a lunch date on the planner, I remember thinking that. So that's important to me to just be busy. That being said, I need days off where I just watch Netflix all day. But there's only so many days in a row I can do that or else I go stir crazy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. So that makes more sense, though. I guess, where does that come from, though? Do you know where that need comes from? Like sort of a need for...
Probably ADD. I don't know.
Do you have ADD?
My brain moves 1,000 times a minute. So like, it's hard for me to like slow down. I like to be entertained. Yeah, I've just never been like zen per se. I try to be now, but I just would rather be stressed out of my mind, busy with exciting things than have nothing. Even if I'm like, guys, this is the busiest my week has ever been. I'm like, I remember that time a year and a half ago, and I don't wish that upon anyone. Of like, the no purpose feeling is really hard.
I get more done when I have too much to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm more productive individually because I can schedule my time a lot better. Yeah, I totally get that. Emojiland, you said you were in LA when it came across your desk.
Came across my desk.
And
I was on a mini solo tour where I was like, you know what? I have weddings in Utah and LA. What can I do? I'll do a bunch of coachings and concerts, and it was so fun. It really was. And part of it is because I was in charge. I think that's another thing. I just like to not like be in charge, but I like to feel, I'm a control freak. So I like to be efficient and in charge. And if somebody else is in charge, I want to be able to hire them so I know who's good at being in charge. But I've done everything myself for so long. Like all the concerts, like I don't have somebody doing, I have a checklist. And if I get help, I haven't been in charge of the checklist. It's not like, it's a what do you need? But I've just like managed so many areas for so long that, yeah, it was just fun to like be with friends and have time off, but also like it was a work trip.
Oh yeah, so you were out in LA, but then what I was getting at was for Emojiland when it came to you. Obviously you make more money doing things that are not off Broadway, which doesn't pay much. what about this? What about Emojiland
Right. So
brought you to it?
I mean, full disclosure, I was on the fence. Whenever I see an audition or an offer or something like that, my confidence is normally the first thing to like, I'm going to suck. It's never like, oh my God, this is so fierce. Let me do every acting job possible. First of all, the jobs don't really come like that. I have people in London are like, when are you going to be Jenna and Waitress? And I'm like, when I can be seen for the third cover on Broadway. What are you talking about? Like, I think like the allure of me in other countries being a Broadway star is just not a fact. And I'm like super self-deprecating. So like if somebody in another country is like, Broadway star on YouTube sensation, Natalie Weiss, I'm like, can we change the billing? Like I feel uncomfortable because I like to say Broadway performer and YouTube sensation because they think I'm a Broadway star and I'm literally not. But I'm also not a YouTube star because I'm not, and now I have a YouTube channel. It just is like a weird kind of a title. So I, say Broadway performer, YouTube sensation. It's weird. But so when this came up, I saw like what the role was. I asked like what kind of a role it is. And I was like, okay, even when I did Ghost the musical recently, it was like the first huge part that I had ever done in my professional career. I was like, I'm gonna suck. It's never like, this is a good challenge, Natalie. It's always like confidence first. And then it's like, I can do this. And then it's like getting friends to help not be like, you're me, not to kiss my ass, but to be like, objectively, this is what you can do this. Encouraging, but also like the positives and negatives. So with the positive and negatives with Emojiland, one of the big positives was you will be relevant as an actor in New York. And for me, a lot of people are like, I didn't know she was still acting. Does she even act? Like a lot of that. And I'm like, I am an actor. It's what I trained in. But everyone, So I was like, okay, I'm going to be in New York for 3 months and people are not going to be like, people would see the playbill. I didn't know she was performing still. And even if it was in people's heads, even if anyone could come see me and I didn't know anything about it, but I did text Leslie Margarita, who I said, what's the deal? She's like, do it with me. So yeah.
So yay Leslie.
Yeah. And I knew Josh was involved. So I was like, okay, people that are really good are in this. So, and it turns out so many friends knew the writers that I didn't even know about until I announced I was doing it. So that's how it came to be. But it was a lot of like, okay, I'm going to have to stop coaching for a little bit. And I'm not doing this for the money at all, but I have savings. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah,
and I will stop the hustle for 3 months is what I said, which was very weird for me.
Well, it's interesting because you're coming from a land of social media where you already have lots of followers. You have over 100,000 on Instagram and I think 30-something on Twitter, which is a lot. And all things being equal, talent-wise, nowadays, somebody with more social media is going to get cast. And
it doesn't mean necessarily.
Doesn't mean they're more talented, but yes.
Yeah. You know what? I always wish that, yes, I have training. I wish that, I guess, casting offices would potentially also see the numbers, but I don't think that that's, maybe in Emojiland they did for the first time, but I've never in the last couple of years felt that I would ever be stunt cast in anything.
So I did not bring that up because I was not implying that you got cast.
No.
Because of your social media. What I was saying that I think is interesting that a lot of people get the big following after they get to Broadway or in some sort of public limelight, and you've already had that, which, I mean, is that, I guess, I'm talking about the pressure of it. I was at, Karen Oliva told me, like, I said, do you like the social media aspect? She's like, no, I hate it. It's so much pressure. I mean, is that
I'm just so used to it.
Really?
I'm like, I'm always thinking about like, oh my God, stop, say it again. This is content. And unfortunately, it's hard for me to like, just enjoy this. It has to be content or it didn't happen.
Right. Yeah. Pics or it's not real.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now I just know that like, there must be more money in it.
Oh, there
Passively.
is. There is.
Yeah. That's why I hired some.
Right. Well, there are people that I've talked to that make like good money just for posting stories.
Correct.
I mean, stories and pictures and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's money in it. So one last question about Emojiland is that the story itself represents a lot of real world scenarios. Mm-hmm. And was that like building a wall, ignoring mental health problems? I mean, it's more than just a comedy about emojis.
Yes.
Not to be confused with Emoji.
The movie?
The movie, which was horrible.
Didn't see it.
This is not horrible. This is really good. Did the script, I mean, how much did the script?
I didn't really, to be honest, like I'm just so slow. I didn't get the political undertones until I was in the room
Really?
with the director because I'm like slow. No, I'm just like admitting I was like, wow, this is interesting. Not what I expected. Also, that's really funny. Oh my God, look, that's smart. But we didn't really get into a lot of my lines subtextually that helped me as an actor. I didn't catch on to until we talked about it in the room.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad that you know about them.
Learning. Yeah.
All right. So there are 3 standard questions that I ask everybody to wrap up every podcast episode. The first one, very simply, is what motivates you?
What motivates me? Seeing change and growth and inspiration in artists.
All right. And then the next question, what advice would you give to your younger self and younger people listening now, starting out down a similar path?
Be nice to everyone and don't feel like you have to compare yourself to other people.
All right. And last question, hardest question. If you can only see one show for the rest of your life, but you can see it as many times as you want, what would you say?
Oh, God. I can only say one.
Yes.
This is going to be such a weird answer because it's not even my top. I saw Legally Blonde 6 times and I saw Next to Normal 5 times. But I'm going to say Bright Star.
Really?
I fucking loved Bright Star. And maybe Dear Evan Hansen. Okay, bye. Sorry, that was 4. Love Bright Star so much.
All right, where can we find you online?
The Natalie Weiss on Twitter and Instagram. And YouTube, search my name. It's like youtube.com/natdog7. It was my tennis name.
Nat Dog.
I can't even change it. I don't know.
Yeah, you should be able to.
I know.
All right. Anyway, you can get more of me at thetheaterpodcast.com. Support the podcast at thetheaterpodcast.com/Patreon. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at theater_podcast. On Facebook.com/official theater podcast. Listen and leave a rating, leave a review, tell your friend. This is edited by Matthew Hendershot. Thanks to Jukebox the Ghost for the music. And Natalie Weiss, thank you. This has been wonderful.
Thank you.
Take a deep breath, make the world a little colorful.